Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Hero Movie Podcast, your greatest source for superhero movie discussion in the multiverse. I am your host, Adam Portrais, and with me is a Superman in his own right, Sean Keenan.
This is the worst thing we've ever seen ever.
Barry in the lead, and of course, our own Superman in his own right, Bruce Leslie.
I'm a prickly pear, and who knew Hot Lips Houlihan could sing?
Oh man, let me tell you. We have a Superman movie for you today, kids, but probably not one that you've seen. You have relatively easy access to it there on the YouTubes and everything, and if you follow us on Facebook.com...
But don't bother.
You let me finish. But if you follow us on Facebook, we actually put the link up there and everything, so if you're so inclined after hearing this review, you can go and check it out. It is, oh my goodness, it's an hour and a half long. That's what really kind of surprised me more than anything, was the full length of it.
And it's 75 minutes too long, in my opinion.
Yep.
And it is entitled, It's a Bird, It's a Plane, It's Superman, or a.k.a. Superman the Musical. I believe this is from 1975, if memory serves. And we're going to have a time today, I think. I don't know if it's going to be a good time, but it's going to be a time, doggone it. So strap in for that, kids. Man. So how you guys been doing? Good?
Oh, yeah.
Up until you had to watch this, doing great?
Yeah, that was probably the worst thing I did this week.
Oh, man.
And I've done some dirty things this week.
It's been a rough week, for sure.
Well, we're going to make it a little bit better for everybody with some good old-fashioned HMP action here. And what better way to have some of that action given to us than to, take some time and take the time for the people that go out and review us on iTunes to give us a 5-star review, a.k.a. Humdinger.
Humdinger.
And we got yet another one here. It is entitled Always Amazing from Maria Helena 1985. 5 stars. And it reads as follows. Love these guys. We're off to a great start for 2017, aren't we?
Oh, just like always.
Hey, man, the more things change, the more things stay the same. Love these guys. I originally started following Preacher Podcast, bless you. Then I branched out to this podcast and the Film Find. These guys really know their stuff. They know their craft. I listen to their podcast, HMP, and all the others while I'm at work. There was a good 3 to 4 months where, due to work-related craziness, that I couldn't listen. This week, I've actually started listening to everything I've missed. Boy, did I miss these guys and their crazy shenanigans. I also written in on the occasion, and I have to start doing that again. Definitely check these guys out. They will not disappoint. If they do, well, there's something wrong with you. Love you guys. Keep up the work. Maria from upstate New York. Maria was actually one of the kind of OGs writing in on the Preacher Podcast, man. So she's
nice. Thank you, Maria.
She's been with us for a long, long time, and we really appreciate that. And that's how you help this show reach out to more people and everything, man. Just go down to the iTunes, drop 5-star review. We really appreciate that, a.k.a. Humdinger.
Okay.
And if you don't have iTunes, that's completely cool. We get that. Just go out and tell a friend, man. I know nerds know other nerds, and you know people that are going to dig on this. And so just go tell somebody. I mean, if nothing else, that is a giant help to us. You know what else is a giant help to us? The people that go down to Patreon and drop us a little bread for our awesome show here. Our newest Patreon member is Charlie, who was pledged us at $5 there. So, Charlie, thank you so much for that. You guys are going to get exclusives and stuff. If you're part of the Patreon, you'll also be getting a bonus episode at the end of the month and everything. So there's a lot of cool stuff for you guys. And I've started doing some other things as well. How do you figure out what all that is? Patreon.com/HMP. So really excited for all of that. So, guys, Maria mentioned it, and I think it's very important that we all, take some time out and take some mail. And we had a little something on the Preacher Podcast for a while, and frankly, I think it deserves a place here on HMP as well. So, if you will, let's open up the mailbag.
Mail's here.
That doesn't get old.
It never gets old. Never gets old.
It just doesn't. I love it so much. It's the silliest thing ever. Long-time listener, supporter, and a person whose last name I think we, especially me and Sean, enjoy far more than anyone else. And if memory serves, yeah, he's donated to Patreon or PayPal. I forget which. Michael Podorsky writes in. Come on, Podorsky.
Podorsky!
Was he in that Spider-Man 77 movie or whatever?
Enough with the cauliflower.
So this one
Captain
is
Barbera.
this one we got a little bit before the beginning of the year. We kind of doubled up on episodes, so we're a little bit behind on mail. So we'll kind of get some of this out today. Mr. Podorsky writes an email entitled Jessica Alba, quote unquote. She's a good looking enough lady. Unquote. She is probably the most gorgeous woman in the history of ever. ... That is from Michael Podorsky. Basically says, hush your mouth when it comes to talking about the Jessica Albas. Hey,
You got your type, I got mine, Podorsky.
I really loved her in Who Framed Roger Rabbit. Was that her?
No.
Yes.
Oh.
Well, it was just about, they're about as flat. Oh, boom. That's a
you and the chowder buckets.
No,
You
really, that
always
was
go for that with
honestly
her.
that was a flat performance, is what I was talking about. You dirty-minded
Oh,
people.
okay.
Everybody look out. Everybody look out. Comedy coming through.
Now we have something. Our next email here is actually historical. We've never had this. Now, way back when we reviewed a movie and it didn't have a Stallone connection. I know that's become such an integrated portion of this show that it's almost, we almost take it for granted at this point. I know Sean doesn't, but
I think it was the Shazam cereal.
let's read on, shall we? This one is from Mr. This is a difficult last name, so I'm going to put it in here as best I can. Kolowanoski. Sure, that's pretty close. It is entitled Episode 38, The Missing Stallone Connection.
Oh, I love it. Keep reading, Portraits.
Recently, I was browsing back episodes, which you all can do, by the way. We've got over 100 of them at this point, so enjoy yourself. Recently, I was browsing the back episodes, and I see Captain Marvel. I re-listened to the episode, and I felt compelled to find, if there was indeed no Stallone connection for myself. For one reason, I am a completist, and for the second reason, Sean said he would give some movie prop prize if someone was able to do what he was not. So I looked up the cast for Captain Marvel and then one by one began using the Oracle of Bacon, checking every actor's name against Sly Stallone. And I found a match on the fourth name. That's right, I found a link for Stallone to Captain Marvel. William Benedict, who starred as Whitey, is the actor we have to thank for later being linked to Stallone in the 1975 Robert Mitchum detective movie, Farewell, My Lovely. I should note that IMDb and other sources show that he is indeed linked to the movie, but has an uncredited next to his name. Stallone has a very small role as a thug named Johnny. Now, I did do more than due diligence on this movie to see if I could spot William Benedict in this movie using a picture of him from his tiny role in The Sting as reference. I watched the movie twice.
Now that is due diligence.
And then a third time, freeze framing every time there was a crowd of people. If he's there, he's well hidden. But to help along this, there's another smaller, more roundabout connection, if you will. At the 48-minute mark, movie is on YouTube for free, by the way, Stallone is standing in the kitchen while one of the madam's quote-unquote girls is reading a Wiz Comics Captain Marvel, and it's issue 23, if you're wondering. That's all I've got, so it's an uncredited film role and an actual comic of the character in the same room as Stallone. Good enough to be given Sean's seal of approval. Merry Christmas, you guys. That is from Mr. Kowalski. Sure.
What do you say, Sean?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Kowalski, you're getting a movie prop for sure. Absolutely.
So yeah, man.
Give me his information, Adam, after the show's over, and
we'll
and I'll
do.
send
Yeah.
it to
So
He sent me a message on Twitter and said it's pronounced Collins.
Oh, okay, good. I'll make a note for future reference here. But yeah, man. So just send us your deets and everything, buddy. We'll get something out here to you. So we appreciate that. Let's go ahead and close up the old mailbag.
Bale's here.
Oh, man. So if you'd like to send us some mail, that's hearmoviepodcast@gmail.com. We'd really appreciate that. So thank you, sir, for that. Well, guys.
Sean, before we move on, did you work on Shallow Hal?
I did.
Do you have that large, oversized pair of women's underwear that you could send him as his gift?
No, believe it or not, the movie studio wanted that back.
That's what's going in the Smithsonian one day, I tell you.
It's probably in the Fairley
Brando
Brothers front office.
Oh,
Right.
I thought they were hoping to give it to Brando if he was still alive then.
I needed a little bit of something to put around my tuchus. Well, here's the thing. We don't have a trailer for this. I've kind of looked around for it, but I kind of wanted to give somebody a little bit of something to give them a flavor of it's a bird, it's a plane, it's Superman. Here's just a little bit from a number. A musical number here from Superman the Musical.
Come on, pal, let's go. I need a little exercise. Take that, pal, and that. Let's see what you can do. You boys, pal, are good. I like a crew who really tries. Come on, pal, let's go. You'll learn a trick or two. Gee, it's funny that only a moment ago, pow, bang, zonk, I doubted myself, and all that was right. But now I see the light.
That's the kind of entertainment that you're in for, kids.
Now
Yeah,
imagine that for an hour and a half.
You can't tell me that Henry Cavill has lungs like that.
I would love to see Henry Cavill sing. It would be fantastic. So this is It's a Bird, It's a Plane, It's Superman from 1975. TV adaptation of campy 1960s Broadway musical about the Man of Steel, his friends, his enemies, and his self-image problems. This is directed by Jack Regas. Written by David Newman, Robert Benton, and Romeo Mueller. Starring David Wilson as Superman. Come on, you guys. Greatest Superman ever? Okay, okay, maybe not. Leslie Ann Warren, David Wayne, not the David Wayne from today. Gary Owens. We got a member or two of Happy Days and some other fine folks, and mostly people you never really heard of. So I'm interested to see how he does it with this one. Bruce, what is the comic book connection for It's a Bird, It's a Plane, It's Superman?
You know, I'm not sure why I felt moved to pick today's topic, but something inside of me said that this would be a good opportunity to discuss really bad Superman stories. Now, first off is Superman number 125, where a dose of radiation takes away all of Superman's powers, but gives him an amazing new one. He gains the power to shoot a tiny little Superman out of his fingers. Now, this mini-me then does Superman's bidding on his behalf, but eventually Superman gets jealous of the little guy for taking all of his limelight, and he destroys the poor little fellow with the kryptonite storm. Now, the teensy-weeny super dude does survive the kryptonite, but ends up dying when he's shot by a plain old gun. With the death of the finger puppet Superman, Supes gets his power back. Now, there's also a storyline called The Death of Clark Kent, where Superman has to face a villain named Braver Man, believe it or not. Now, this guy ends up electrocuting himself, and I'm pretty sure Superman didn't do anything. Also, Clark Kent doesn't die. Now, there's an Action Comics story where a guy from Apocalypse named Sleaze kidnaps Superman and Big Barda and hypnotizes them so that they will make dirty movies together. I guess he was the fourth world equivalent of Larry Flint. By the way, this Sleaze story was written by John Byrne, and honestly, I expect a little bit more from him. There is a story in which a machine that can predict the future, which is aptly named the Predictor Machine, predicts that Superman will be in danger and his life will be saved by someone with the initials LL. Now, could this be Lois Lane, Lana Lang, Lightning Lad, Lex Luthor, or maybe even 1950s Hollywood icon Lash LaRue? No, it was a Little Leaguer with his Little League baseball bat. Going back to the Golden Age, we have Action Comics number 8, a story titled Superman in the Slums. And in this issue, Superman decides that the cause of juvenile delinquency is public housing, so he sets about obliterating all of the housing projects in Metropolis. His plan works because City Hall decides to house all the new low-income citizens in lavish mansions. And you see, politicians do have a solution to everything. Now, in a similar story, Superman decides to combat reckless driving by smashing all the cars in the Metropolis impound lot, proving once again that there's no problem Superman can't solve with wanton property damage. Now, my personal favorite bad Superman story is called At Earth's End. In this story, Superman has white hair and a beard and looks like Santa Claus. He also carries a bunch of Rob Liefeld-inspired BFGs, and I don't mean big friendly giants. I'm talking about ridiculously oversized guns. Now, why does Superman need to be armed with ludicrously drawn hand cannons? Simple. He has to battle not one, but 2 Hitler clones, along with a city of mutant Batmen, or should I say Batmans? I don't really know the plural for Batman.
My 3-year-old cousin says Batman, so Batmans.
Yeah. Now, this OGN was written by Tom Vetch and drawn by Frank Gomez. And if you're wondering why you've never heard of these guys, it's because they made a story where Superman looks like Santa Claus, uses some guns that Cable thought looked a little too big, and he fought not 1 but 2 Hitlers. That's like a chef getting a chance to prove himself at a classy restaurant, and on the first day he designs an entirely Play-Doh-based menu. Now, I could have said a few words about Superman Red Blue, but I feel like that would be cliche. There is a story where Superman buys an oil well and becomes a wealthy industrialist. There's also the time Superman kidnapped a football player to stop a point-shaving scam. And, of course, Superman takes the poor guy's spot on the team and scores like 100 touchdowns, 3 slam dunks, and a grand slam. Don't quite know how they kept scoring football back then. Now, he adopted Jimmy Olsen once, then proceeded to be an absolute jerk to him. And then, of course, there is what might be the worst Superman story of all. That's the story where Superman is a schlubby guy from Long Island who can't sing very well, makes out with Loretta Swit, then gets a laundromat named after him while City Hall explodes.
For those of you that don't know, that's the story of this movie. That actually happened. I love Superman with hey, what are you talking about? I'm just a little boy from Kansas. What do you want from me?
Yeah, man. Yeah. When the Salkins made that original Superman movie, good friend of the show, Sly Stallone wanted to play Superman. And I have to think this was probably his only exposure to Superman. Like he thought that a Brooklyn kind of guy would be just perfect for the role.
But you know who could have done Superman in this role? Frank Stallone.
Oh, yeah.
Because that guy can sing.
He also could have done a good Jerry Siegel or Joe Shuster, I think.
Oh man! So
you're forgetting one of the worst Superman stories of all time, Bruce. It's the one where Superman dies by the hands of Doomsday, and 4 guys take his place.
Oh man, that was the best-selling comic of that decade. I can't rat on it too much, but it was bad, and maybe it was also John Byrne.
It made some cool covers, though, man. You remember, when they had, each 4... I don't know. I just thought they were kind of dope covers where there was just, the Superboy, the whatever the other guys were, John
And
Steele.
I take it back. It was Dan Jurgens, I believe, not John Byrne.
Yeah,
John
Dan
Byrne
Jurgens
was either
did,
before or after.
Yeah,
because
Dan
Jurgens is the Doomsday guy.
He did all the Doomsday. Yeah. But you'd open up, it had the S symbol right in the middle of the cover, and you opened it up, and then it was like a cutout of the symbol and everything, and then you saw him in the first page of the book. I always thought that was it was cool. I mean, the books were kind of crummy, but the cover concept was oh, that's really neat.
So the marketing for something in the 90s was really good, but the story itself suffered?
Huh. Go figure.
Yeah. The marketing of the decade was good.
They did,
Consumption of said properties were terrible.
Hey, if nothing else, the 90s, we can really thank the 90s in Image for getting us, high-quality paper, if nothing else.
You know what? You're right about that. And also, it was during the 90s that somebody decided we needed holographic baseball cards.
Oh, dude, my dad has been kind of getting through all of his old closet and everything and busting out all of the old Marvel cards because he had like everything from like 91, whatever the first set was. It was either 90 or 91, like on. Just like everything, dude. He just, we weren't baseball card people. We were comic book card people.
Yeah. And I know that someday in the future, archaeologists are going to dig up ruins. And, we have like the Stone Age, the Bronze Age, the Iron Age, that sort of stuff. Well, in the future, the 90s will be known as the chromium foil cover age.
Yeah.
Yes.
I want some silver sable
sure.
thing looking pretty boss. So now this is so in 1966 there was a play of the same name. It's a bird, it's a plane, it's Superman that came out. Didn't do so well. Only ran 129 shows and stuff, which in that kind of in musical terms is awful darn low. So this thing tanked like crazy. So around 1975 they're like, man, we want to recoup some of the money for this thing. So let's do a production of it and put it on television. That's bound to reach tons of people. Well, they did the wise thing of airing it at 11:30 at night, and turns out, no one was up and watched it.
Huh.
So this was an unmitigated disaster.
I think it makes sense because this seems like an overly long and unfunny Saturday Night Live skit.
You're not wrong. It does. It seems like a very 70s SNL sketch that was like, well, boy, they keep going, don't they? Now the funny part is that you're like, oh well, what could this have to do with anything? Two of the guys who helped write the screenplay for this actually wrote the first two Superman and even some of the third Superman movies.
Now, did they just work with the screenplay, or did they work with writing the book for the Broadway production?
I look. You want me to do Sean level research? I look.
Just curious.
I'm not exactly sure of their thing because Mario Puzo for like the first Superman did the.
Oh gosh, he wrote a 500-page script.
Yeah, and
how many minutes does that convert to? I guess 500 minutes.
Yeah, around 500.
Yeah, it's generally a minute a page, so 500.
So quite a tome there Puzo wrote, but and who better? You think, boy, I need somebody to do Superman. Let's get the guy that got The Godfather. I mean, it was good and all, but I'm sure he knows tons about superheroes. Let's throw that on him. See what works.
What an odd choice.
Oh, wait. But no, so these guys, they had some stuff in it. And it's funny because someone on Facebook was actually kind of watching it with the link that I shared and everything and was like, this has a lot of kind of similarities to Donner Superman. And I'm like, well, funny enough, these guys actually helped work on that thing. So it's not that big of a surprise. So, when you think about that, the song that Lois would have sung in Superman, would have, made sense coming from these guys.
It also explains that whole soliloquy.
Yeah. And
it was not good either
this
way.
This felt a little more like Richard Lester's Superman than Richard Donner's, to be honest.
Well, you're not wrong there. So
because Richard Pryor would have spiced this joint up a bit.
Oh my gosh, if Richard Pryor was like the MIT scientist guy or whatever, yes, all about that. But now
could have given him Al Molinaro's role in this movie.
For those of you who don't know that is, just go look up a little program called Happy Days.
Now, did he come before Mr. Miyagi or did he come after Mr. Miyagi?
He was after, if memory serves.
He was Big Al and Mr. Miyagi was Arnold.
Yeah, exactly. So now let's talk a little bit about this itself because, like I said, this is like an adaptation of a play, but this is an adaptation of a play that you would have seen, right? Because that's how the sets look and everything. So we go to our resident art director expert here. Sean, what did you think about the art direction of It's a Bird, It's a Plane, It's Superman?
Well, for a production on, I'm guessing that the show itself was a Broadway production.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
For that, I can see where it would work. If you're there live and you want that comic book feel to it, it's not bad.
But don't you think a little splash of color, some really bright, 4-color panel looking stuff instead of just white with black Sharpie drawn on it would have been better?
I totally agree with you, but it did work for me. It's an aesthetic that they were going for clearly. I think about them on the Warren G. Harding Bridge.
And that all works for me. That whole scene works for me.
It's fun.
Just through the art direction, actually.
Yeah,
But these guys had to be familiar with Batman 66 when this is
Oh,
on.
without a doubt. I mean, it's so influenced by that I think that they wanted to get away from that is the feel, because, nothing is pop art. It's all hand drawn stuff. It's an aesthetic they were going for, and it's okay if you're looking at it live. But watching a production of it, it looks like the cheesiest, crappiest set you've ever seen.
I feel like they didn't realize that color TVs were a thing in 1975 yet.
Well, but I really do think they were trying to steer clear of anything Batman related, because the way that it works generally is that if something has been canceled and it's, singular, like Batman 66, after that cancellation, you try to steer as far away, network people try to steer as far away from it as they possibly can. And the only reason why I'm saying that is because when I used to pitch TV show ideas, I had a TV show idea, and The Tick had just been canceled on Fox when I did the pitch. And it was like I walked in there and I said, I have an idea for a TV show that promotes cancer. I mean, that's literally what the reaction was like.
Oh, no. Get out, sir. Get out now.
I'm listening.
But I think that, this does have like that kind of like, and like I said, this originally came out in 66 as far as the play goes, and my guess is a pretty decent translation. But it felt like that. It felt like it had a lot of that kind of that pop culture thing, or pop art sort of thing, but not directly. I think they wanted to be sort of like Batman, but definitely not Batman.
Oh, I don't agree with you at all, Adam. I really do think that they tried to steer as far away. There's no bright colors in this except for Superman's costume.
I mean more of a just like tone and feel, not necessarily from an art perspective per se.
Well, they did have the Bam Piff Biff Pow part in that, especially that one Superman song.
There's a bit of that. There's like a lot of looking at the camera. There's some throwaway lines that are absolutely kind of Batman 66 when they're going through and they're dancing along in one of the scenes. I forget the cat's name. But he just goes, all of a sudden he just goes, man, we need to get some sand in this office so he can soft shoe a little better. I'm like, oh my gosh.
Now, how about let's talk about this cast a little bit, because it's weird in that there's a couple of recognizable people in roles that didn't need recognizable people. Meanwhile, our leads were lost, never to be seen again. So I guess the place I'm going to start is with Superman. This guy, I don't think ever did anything after this.
Oh, he did some stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, he did.
What did he do?
I mean, first of all, he was a voice actor in one of the great movies or great video games of 2010, Alan Wake. Loved that game. He mostly did like TV stuff and things like that. Did an episode of Who's the Boss? Wise guy.
He peaked too soon, man. He peaked too soon.
Dallas, the early years. That's a TV movie, no less.
Yeah. I remember Young Digger Barnes, and that was a good actor.
He was on an episode of Magnum P.I.
Okay.
He's done stuff. Not a ton of great stuff, but he's done stuff.
Yeah.
Same goes. Well, the other gal, the gal who plays Lois, she's actually done quite a bit of stuff. She's still working up a good bit till this day. She was on.
Yeah, that's Leslie Ann Warren, man. She's been in she's been working steadily since the 70s.
She's all over the place, man.
She plays Miss Scarlet in Clue the movie.
Yeah.
Okay, I did remember seeing that. But does she do a good job as Lois Lane?
No.
No, this is a terrible Lois Lane. And for a musical, it seems like they didn't pay that much attention to the singing and dancing abilities of some of their leads.
I think that's the biggest problem.
Look, I said this to you guys off air before we started this. We pick on the Superman movies that just came out because it seems like they're trying to do anything but make Superman Superman. The people who made this quote movie unquote legitimately dislike not only Superman but comic books in general, and everyone involved in it, acting wise, performance wise. Everyone hates this project who's working on it. And you can feel it when you're watching this thing that no one wants to be there. Everybody would rather be doing something else. They all think it's stupid and childish. And so It took me 3 different watches to watch this thing all the way through. And that's also skipping through some of the songs because I just couldn't take it anymore.
You know, if it weren't for the very large hats that the women wore, I don't think I could have made it through. But I was just at the edge of my seat to see which hat would come out next.
I love a big hat. I've always said it.
There's the one time when Loretta Swit has the kind of thing strung over her head that looks like what the Little Rascals would have when they had a toothache. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I thought the same thing. I thought the same exact thing. I was like, is she going for an unknown soldier thing going on? Or?
Well, I will say that the most exciting thing for me, the high point, was to see one of my favorite shows of all time is MASH. So to see one Loretta Swit playing the seductress in this stage production was kind of nice. I had no idea she could sing. She's got some pipes on her.
She was the best one. She could sing better than anybody in the entire crew. And you know, she's good looking too.
She's
Look,
hot
she
lips,
ain't no
man.
Miss Tessmacher, but she's all right.
She's Hot Lips Houlihan. You know, in a war zone, everybody looks a little bit better than they do in peacetime.
But she's really good, and I wanted to sit there and smack Clark in the face and going, hello, there's a really attractive lady that is clearly throwing herself at you. How dumb are you, sir?
Now, I did see who played her role on Broadway. Do you guys care to venture a guess at who played Loretta Swit's role on the Broadway production?
Bette Midler, right?
Close. But it was before there was a new girl in town and she was looking good. It was Linda Lavin. Television's Alice played this character on Broadway.
Holy cow.
Wow.
So this is the role that really seems to bring in the only talented people that have worked on this program. And, you know, this is post-MASH. Loretta Swit didn't need a paycheck that badly. She must have just wanted to do this to go back to her musical roots or something. She still does a lot of community theater like around Raleigh now. I think she lives somewhere in North Carolina.
No, but
that's great.
But she was really good in this whole thing, and I'm just like, man, if they could get people that like could sing as well as she did, because honestly, everyone else's singing was subpar at best.
And when she was talking to Clark Kent, I could squint my eyes a little bit and picture Radar O'Reilly there.
Yeah, it was pretty good. But he like, oh my gosh. So yeah, of course, like the story always goes. Clark is like, "Hey Lois, how you doing? What's how some of huh?" And then she's all like, "I don't know. He's just Clark.
Have you been there the whole time?"
For an investigative reporter, she's dumb as a rock.
Never gets old ever in this show.
And she felt so much more like Olive Oyl from Popeye than she did like Lois Lane.
Oh my gosh,
Bruce,
that is
are you
accurate.
in my head this whole time? I thought the exact same thing. I really did.
Oh, Superman.
Now
Popeye.
The real shocker to me is the guy that played Abner Sedgwick. I think he's actually like a respected stage actor.
Yeah, he's like, for those of you, just think kind of a Dr. Smith vibe, right?
Yeah,
Dr. Smith, but he could
man,
sing.
Talk about a great actor. The guy that played Dr. Smith could shred up a TV screen.
Boy, why is that not a surprise that Bruce is a giant Dr. Smith fan? No shocks here.
Yeah, I know it. That's like the least surprising thing I've learned this week.
Did you know he grew up like in Brooklyn and grew up with your standard Brooklyn accent and worked really hard to sound like Dr. Smith?
I have to get rid of that, my dear boy. Flabbergasted.
He was a very, very poor man's Vincent Price.
No, that's kind of true.
But this guy that played Abner Sedgwick was pretty good. I guess there was a moment of fun when he's singing about why he wants to conquer the world, and ultimately it's to obliterate Sweden. I didn't see that coming.
Weirdest. It's like, of all the places in the world, oh, those darn Swedes.
And he was breaking the fourth wall years before Deadpool ever did it.
He's looking like, honest to goodness, though, I think a lot of his stuff had to be on cue cards. The way he's looking at some stuff, it's just like, dude, you have to be reading that.
And isn't that kind of a circuitous route that you want to destroy Superman so that you can destroy Sweden? I think you just skip the middleman and go straight to destroying Sweden and deal with Superman later.
I don't think they're going to put up that big of a fight. I could be wrong. I don't know much about Sweden's military prowess.
That's where Vikings come from. Watch yourself.
Yeah. And when was that? Huh?
That was like the 1970s, man. This was prime Viking time.
Vikings stopped out in 1978. Don't you know nothing?
Global warming, man. Read.
Ain't you ever heard of the Purple People Eaters?
Oh, I love the Purple People Eaters.
But, he said he finished second place 10 times for the Nobel Prize. Do they really announce who the runners-up are? I kind of thought it's like somebody just wins. Like there's no – it's not like the Oscars where they announce 5 nominees and you tune in and see who won.
The great part is how he's just super racist about it.
Yeah.
It's just like, why did I lose, Japs, or whatever it is. It's just like, dude, he's just wildly racist. It's hilarious.
Hey, Vietnam had just ended. So Abner here, why don't they just call him Lex Luthor?
Won't shave the head, a la Gene Hackman.
Oh, man. I could go with a furry-headed Lex Luthor as easily as a Dr. Abner Sedgwick.
It would have been fun. At least it would have, made a little bit more sense. And again, shave the guy's head. These people not shaving their heads just really kind of chaps me, man. I don't know why.
And are they not paying you enough? I mean, geez.
I kind of like the guy that played Max Minkin, and that's a relative term, considering that I was forced to watch this movie. He was one of the parts that was less miserable than the others. The guy that tried to soft shoe, like a terrible dancer, not a great looking guy, but he's so convinced he's extremely handsome in this movie. I liked it.
I also like that he had his own Superman style shirt of himself.
Yeah.
He's not only a quite the dancer, he's also a bit of a craftsman. Just a little arts and crafts time there. But
I also like it when Superman was talking on the college campus, Metropolis Institute of Technology, that the college kids who had their own Superman T-shirts, they had a much better looking emblem on their T-shirts than the actual Superman character had on his costume. And the same wardrobe people made them both, right? Why don't they give Supes the good S?
Nah.
Oh, it's an iron-on. It's easier to do.
I'm sure they just bought this thing at a costume shop like 30 minutes before filming. I did see that they filmed this over 3 days, and I was shocked because I thought they just filmed this in real time. Like, I thought if you watched it on television with commercial breaks, it took longer to watch it than it took to produce it.
If they'd have done it live, it actually would have been pretty impressive. But I do love the super wide head hole for Superman's costume and everything. That's when you just know it was like right off the costume rack somewhere.
Yeah.
It's like, nobody made this. It looks ridiculous.
And you did notice the cape was on crooked.
Well, you got to show that it's a cape. So, drape it a little bit more over your right shoulder there so people can know what's what.
Yeah.
I also like the special effects of Superman flying. And then when he's holding Lois at the end, where they're clearly lying down.
I loved it, though, because that's the first time she ever took a hat off. I was kind of wondering if she had a bald spot or something.
But it was. I love. Yeah, you could so clearly see the line that they're laying on. While like, hey, here's where all their clothes flatten out because they're laying down on the special effect. It's just awesome.
So when they did the live production, do you think they went all Peter Pan with strings?
No, they probably had like they probably did like Captain Marvel and had like a cardboard cutout or something flying through the air and just threw some voices behind it.
I could go with that.
I've seen that kind of stuff in plays. So
yeah, I've seen Marvel Universe Live. They do that kind of thing.
So
they do?
Yeah, you have a Red Skull and a spaceship flying across the arena, and it looks
very cute,
pretty cheesy, but it's fun.
Are they skating?
No, they're not skating. They're riding motorcycles for the most part.
No one's on ice in this thing. What kind of?
You have to go to the Sinbad meets the Seven Seas or whatever, the Disney ones. They do the ice skating.
Oh man, I love Sinbad in a Different World.
And that Shazam movie he made.
Never existed. But look, here's the thing. This movie's not good, but there's a couple of moments that are just like that are so ridiculous that it's, I don't know. I'll be honest. I had fun with this movie to a degree. It's bad.
Surprise! Adam's gonna zig instead of zag. What a gigantic surprise!
I guess that I wouldn't say it's clever, but it's more thought than I was expecting to get out of this. That they did have Joe Shuster and Jerry Siegel as not only characters in the movie, but some could argue the true heroes of the movie.
Real hippie kids.
Where are they?
They're the hippie kids, Joe and Jerry. They're the ones when they see him giving a speech, one goes, "Oh, Superman, all I want to do is draw pictures of you all day." Well, that's Jerry Siegel. And then the other guy goes, "And I just want to write your stories." That's Joe Shuster. Oh. So they made Joe Shuster and Jerry Siegel characters in this movie.
Then they're they're the ones later that are, kind of giving the pep talk and everything where they're just
they're the ones that say, come on, it's okay to be a freak. Look how freaky Abe Lincoln was. He freed the brothers in the 1880s. That's a direct quote from the movie, which I'm pretty sure the Emancipation Proclamation was the 1860s. Lincoln was dead by like 1865, right?
Yeah, 1865 is his death.
Why you harshing my
Yeah.
gig, brother? I just, it's the 70s, man. I probably did some drugs before I got on this bridge.
Yeah, George Washington had wooden teeth. That's freaky.
Freaking man. And the great part is they go through the whole thing of like Superman's like, that makes me better, right? And they're like, no, slow your roll, player. It's like, that just makes you different. But different's not bad. Like Superman automatically goes to, then I'm better than everybody else, huh?
And when you mentioned that this guy was on an episode of Who's the Boss, now I'm just trying to think how much fun Tony Danza could have been in this as Tony Kent.
Oh my gosh, that would have been
And Tony Man.
awesome. Because they would
That
have
is crazy. That is crazy that this is coming up because I'm not kidding when I say this to you. The project that I pitched a million years ago is this thing where terrible superheroes get together and save the day. And one of the characters' names, I kid you not, is Super Tony Danza.
Oh gosh.
Hey,
And the guy who I'm pitching this show to, he's like, and is it Tony Danza? Is it going to be Tony Danza? Is Super Tony Danza? And I said, well, it can be, but it doesn't have to be. He's like, so you're going to have Super Tony Danza without Tony Danza? Like he was just so completely locked on that.
it's like if Tony Danza doesn't want to be in it, ain't no way that we can't not use that name still.
Exactly.
If he's in it,
Exactly.
What
super
you gotta
great.
do,
If
you
not,
gotta
yeah.
get a bunch of phone books, go through until you find somebody named Anthony Danza, and you say, "Of course, I got Tony Danza signed to it. I promise you. Here's his name on the dotted line. Now, give me some funding."
Look, there were so many other problems with that whole deal that there was no way we were going to get that through.
I got that
and you're
Tony
just letting
Danza
the public
money.
have it. You may want to pitch that again someday. The Super Tony Danza Hour.
Oh man, he'd probably do it.
Hey, I'm willing to legally change my name if it helps you out.
Hey, there you go.
Sweet.
Let's see. What are like the okay? There's a bit at the beginning that honestly doesn't go anywhere. Like the whole mob thing at the beginning. Boy, they really
Yeah.
kind of just tossed that aside until the end, when it felt like they were like, "Oh shoot, remember those mob dudes that we did in the beginning? We got to do something to wrap that up, don't we?" I guess he just needed
Yeah.
somebody to fight.
That let me just tell you from a writing perspective, I already know what that is, man. Is that it's the end of the first act. You see those mobsters, and then at the very end for the big number with all those people dancing. That's literally why they did it that way.
And you need some minions. I mean, you got to come up with something besides Dr. Sedgwick and Max Minkin here. So that gives you the toughs. And I really think that Jack Nicholson must have been a fan of this movie because I smelled a little Tim Burton Joker in those mobsters.
I'll tell you this though, the Max and the Doctor there had a very interesting relationship when you get to a certain point of this movie.
Well, I mean, it's a theatrical production.
I don't know. It looked.
It's, I mean, not.
Not for nothing.
Look, I know that I get slammed for we've been slammed before for being homophobic and all that stuff.
which we're not.
Even though, never mind the fact that I'm almost as close to being homosexual as you can without actually liking dudes in my real life.
Hey, I drive an Outback. That makes me a lesbian in arms.
That's true.
There is no way you're going to have a theatrical production of Superman without there being homosexual references in the script. It's just there is no way that gets through. That's absolutely going to be there. And especially with something where there's not a ton of source material, what could they sing about now? What could they sing about now?
It's so great. They're locking arms. They're locking eyes and just singing all to each other and just traipsing up and down the set. I was just like, this is great. So it's just like so out of left field because this guy's like trying to, the reporter dude. He's just trying to get with every lady that's out there, right? And they don't want nothing about it. And he's just like,
And
well,
this is a time This is a time when the proper term for it was a social disease, and I couldn't help but imagine that he had to have at least one of each social disease, the way his personality was in this movie.
He was all about that, man. He's just like, well, the rest of these people don't, but this elderly man seems awful friendly. So we're gonna buddy up with that guy, do some tap dancing together. You know how it's just
The old soft shoe.
some good old fashioned fun,
Get out
man.
the salt. I want to do the old soft shoe.
Gregory Hines could not be bothered, so I've got this old timer.
And how lousy? Let's just cut to the chase. How lousy must Clark Kent have been in the sack that Loretta Swit cut him loose after one night and sent him back to Lois?
She was just like, "Look, we ain't compatible." I mean, there's not much more than that.
Yeah.
It's just like, he ain't no good, man. Like, he falls for her, and then it's just like, nah. She's the one who basically dumped him, it seems.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, pretty clearly.
So it's just like, look, Lois, you can get these scraps. Never you mind.
And how do they expect me to believe Superman is so psychologically broken that he gets angry at Lois for liking Clark Kent, and he even says he's going to break Clark Kent's neck or something like that? I just got bogged down in the mopey Superman. Like I said, a 15-minute Saturday Night Live skit could have done this justice. Didn't need an hour and a half.
This guy all down into, like, so he goes in, like, the evil doctor and stuff. He goes and, like, he becomes his shrink for a while. It's just, it's the most bizarre, because like that was kind of getting big around those times, is people, being open and talking about going to a shrink and everything. And so there's a lot of that, and there's like, it's just Superman's biggest foe in this is like his own mind,
Also, I just saw a note here that said, it's from Wikipedia, and it said that the ethnicity of the evildoers were Chinese acrobats instead of mafia gangsters on Broadway. So that was a television choice to switch that to the mafioso.
Oh, wow, really?
Yeah. Was this right around the time Godfather was big? I mean, that might have been their way of trying to...
75, it
Yeah.
would make sense.
some
Yeah.
years. So.
The old Chinese acrobats were all the thing in 66, but by 75, it was gangster.
Puzo was sitting at home watching this at 11:30 at night on a Thursday and going, "Oh crud, man! I got a good idea for a Superman movie. I'm gonna make this. This is gonna be good."
And somewhere there's an angry troop of Chinese acrobats that missed out on a paycheck.
That's society for you. Let's see. Anything else that's kind of a standout in this?
What'd you think about the fact that it was a laundromat that they were naming after him at the university?
What is the point? It is so bizarre that it's just like, and like he's so proud. That's the thing.
I literally couldn't make the connection. Where is the joke? Is it because he's wearing, because of his costume? Is that the joke?
I guess the idea is that it's like the most irrelevant building that they're dedicating to him, and he's so egotistical he's still getting a kick out of it.
Oh, I see.
And then they go and blow up the what building was it? The
City Hall.
City Hall, something like that. It's just,
And then they had the news, the 70s, the Anchorman thing where he comes in and says, now we're talking to Metropolis's lead City Hall bombing expert,
Boy,
Max Mink.
This thing ticked me off because they're just like, hey, now we're going to go to the control room. They go to the set. They do not go to the control room. That is wrong. Idiots.
Oh, man. The Ron Burgundy in you comes out, Adam.
I was just sitting there. I'm like, okay, control room. Let's see what their control room looks like. I love seeing all the old antique gear. I've worked at a couple of places where that antique gear was still lying around, so it'll be fun seeing it. And it's like, nope, that's just the set.
See, I'm picturing a scene from the Flintstones where there's a pterodactyl using its beak to make little pictures to show on the TV.
It's a living.
Oh, man, I think we're all out of anything worth talking about here. We have the big fight scene at the end. Did that make up for it? Or what about the elaborate plot to get rid of Lois Lane? They put dynamite under her chair. Somehow they put a block of ice under Minkin's feet with the assumption that blocks of ice on your feet make you sneeze. Is that a thing people believed in the 70s?
I just like they're really trying to stop him sneezing hardcore. I don't.
And they give him something to drink that gives him hiccups.
Hot toddies. This guy's like, look, I ain't drinking no hot toddies. Those give me hiccups now.
I just don't understand the plot. If they want to kill them, why don't they just kill them? Why build this bizarre, like, Sisyphean punishment or something here? It's like something from Milton's Paradise Lost or whatever.
Bruce, it's called showmanship.
And those Nobel Prize runners-up in physics are known for their showmanship.
But then everybody, once the whole thing goes down, right, at the end, everybody's mind washed. Like that guy's he's a science reporter for the paper now.
Yeah.
What in the heck is that crap?
Yeah, the explosion wiped their memory. But we do get the big fight scene where Superman finally gets back his confidence and he's singing, "Hey, yeah, that's nice. I like it when the villains are confident," or whatever. Pretty. That was a Batman fight scene, not a Superman fight scene.
At the beginning of that fight scene, though, he did he bashed a metal thing over somebody's head and straightened it out and all that kind of jazz. It wasn't good, but
And there's when the gangsters in slow motion break a chalkboard over his head. Got to be honest, there were a couple of kids in my high school. I'm pretty sure you could break a chalkboard over their head and it wouldn't stop them from beating you up. Superman would have murdered several people in that fight scene.
Yeah, pretty much. But it all ended in a nice big number. So everybody's okay. Look, I'm just saying, I've seen this and I've seen La La Land within the past 2 weeks, and I'd say they're both about on par. No, I'm kidding.
Oh, gosh.
I'm kidding, of course. So before we get down to the nitty-gritty here, we have to ask ourselves how this former Broadway stage play turned television disaster is related to our good friend Sylvester Stallone.
Thank you, Adam. I have a prepared statement.
Mm-hmm.
Every single person that was in this affront to movies and Superman and maybe even the good Lord himself also worked on the old Telly Savalas show Kojak.
Yeah.
As many of you HMPers will let me start over. And as many HMPers will tell you, Stallone also did a guest spot on Kojak. So there's your Stallone connection. Who I would like to talk about today is former character actor Phil Leeds, who did every single sitcom ever made during the late 70s and 80s. Phil Leeds is in It's a Bird, It's a Plane, It's Superman, and he is also in Kojak. If you see a picture of Phil Leeds and you're over the age of 25, you would recognize him instantly. Phil Leeds plays the MIT technician in It's a Bird, It's a Plane, It's Superman, and it's the worst Superman movie we've ever seen. It also happens to be wow, I am screwing this up all over the place. Sorry, guys. He also happens to be one of the actors who appeared on Kojak, which I just said, but he also happens to have worked on a TV show called Alf.
Yeah.
You guys know how much I love horror stories on set, and my sweet marshmallowy peeps, Alf delivers. Ever since Alf was canceled, both Max Wright, who played Willie, and Anne Shadeen, who played his wife, have said on numerous occasions that tensions were very high amongst the cast and crew. The technical demands of the series made for very long shooting schedules, and none of the actors enjoyed playing supporting roles to a puppet who always had the best lines. Max Wright was so ready to be done with the show that on the final day of taping, once it was over, he immediately cleaned out his dressing room and left the studio without saying goodbye to any of the cast or crew. No bows were taken, no tearful goodbyes. He simply disappeared. And that's when the legend of Max Wright started. No longer was he merely the guy who played Willie on Alf. He started choosing his roles. He played Werner von Braun on the HBO series From the Earth to the Moon and various other projects I didn't bother looking up. My point is, Max Wright was the Kaiser Soze of Alf. Sometimes you need a narrative to these things, and my narrative is that Max Wright is a mysterious mystery man. So there you have it, HMPers. This week's Stallone/Alf connection. Now, gay guy who worked on the music and different gay guy who worked on the choreography. Let's review this and get it over with.
Indeed we will. But first of all, I have to tell you, I know what happened to our good friend Max Wright.
Oh?
Yeah, he turned into Joe Lieberman. He changed his name and got into politics. He looks he looks and sounds exactly like Joe Lieberman. Every time I see Joe Lieberman, I'm just like, that's the guy from Alf.
He's from my home state. I know exactly who he is.
I'm pretty sure he worked on the first season of Friends as one of the employees in Central Park, too.
There you go. So there he did, actually. No, you're right.
No.
No, I don't want
Phoebe, don't. No.
Always with the cats.
And Mr. Belding's a really hot club DJ now.
Indeed he is. Well, he's something. All right, so let's get down to it. Here on Here Movie Podcast, we don't have stars. We don't have letter grades. No, we have our own patented Robin rating system. And if you'd like to see what that Robin rating system looks like, go to facebook.com/HMP. It's the picture right there on the top of the page and everything. Bruce, where did It's a Bird, It's a Plane, It's Superman fall on the HMP Robin rating system for you, sir?
We have a new winner. We have a new winner of the worst thing we've ever watched. This is worse than Power Pack to me because it's 3 times as long.
Yeah.
Okay. And Loretta Swit can't save it. Do you know how bad a property has to be if Loretta Swit can't save it? The woman is made of solid gold. She could save anything, but not this. Now, the only use for this movie is I'm pretty sure there's a way you could either win a bet with it or punish someone with it. Maybe you could do both at the same time. I don't know. Maybe this could be like the wages of the bet. The loser has to watch this movie. But anyway, this is weird. This is strange. This is Jason Todd with a capital Odd.
Mm-hmm. Keenan, what do you rate this thing?
This is bad. This is really bad. And not only is it bad, but it angers me watching it. It's... You know, like when we're watching something like Power Pack or we're watching something like Doctor Strange 77, those shows and movies, they're basically just trying to make something as well as they can, as good as they can. You know, there's no ill intent, but the people who made this clearly did not like the subject matter at all, and so they hated being there. They hate you. They hate everything. So I hate this movie in return. And it is a Jason Todd. And to me, this is also the worst thing we've ever seen.
All right. Now it's down to me. Now, as people who know me know, I am a big fan of musicals. Music Man is one of my favorite musicals of all time. I did enjoy La La Land, as I just mentioned. Big My Fair Lady fan. Sound of Music, I'm kind of so-so on.
I've never seen The Sound of Music.
It's okay. I mean, it's,
I like Grease and Grease 2.
Grease is good.
If they made a Grease 3, I'd like that too.
But, I do like musicals a lot. And so this thing starting out, I was not super, pumped and everything. But it got to a point where I kind of, I'll be honest, I bought into what they were doing. It's dumb. It's not good. Please don't get me wrong. This is not a good movie. But if you can watch it for its stupidness and like looking at the camera, and I think it knows how awful it is. I think it does. And for that, I'm going Stephanie Brown. It's a strong Stephanie Brown, actually.
What?
Yeah.
Adam, why do you do this?
I'm not surprised at all.
I had fun laughing at it because it was just dumb as all get out. But there's something about it that had an element of fun.
Yeah. Sure.
I don't know. Look, I'm the first person to tell you I'm a weird guy. I get that. But there you have it.
Hey, but Sean, for the record, he didn't say anything about adult beverages.
No.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah, see, there you go. I did it stone cold sober, baby. And I still kind of liked it. Not really, not a lot. Just enough not to give it the Jason Todd. That's all. All right, so next week, we've been down in the dumps for a while. I think it's time for us to go back up a little bit. And next week, we're doing a movie that I could have sworn that we'd already done because it's just, I guess it's so iconic and, seared into your mind and everything that you're like, oh, well, we have had to have done that. Nope, sure shooting we haven't. So we're going to be going back to the first Avenger, Captain America, man.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
So about time we see where old Chris Evans came up and some like amazing CGI from when he was just. I still can't believe how good that is.
I don't believe that I've seen that movie since the other two. I think I haven't seen it since then. It's going to be interesting to match that up with what they're doing now.
I think it'll certainly be better than this. I think that goes without saying. So that is it. Until next week, Bruce, where can we find more of your work on the internet this week, sir?
There's always Chubby Wizard, Heroes and Villains, and stay tuned for more info. But I suspect within the next month or so, I'll have a book available that you can buy on Kindle and iBooks and stuff. So stick around
job
if you
by you, Leslie.
And
if you like absurd stuff, it'll be right up your alley. High fantasy.
And it's not like an Adam book where it's more like see Jane run, see Jane play. I mean, it's way more advanced than that. So
yeah, the big kicker is whether or not I want to put it on Audible.
well, I just want somebody else to read it to me. I don't have to read it myself.
I was going to say, you should have Adam read it. And have
That is actually that's the reason I would do it. Like the meta reason is only if Adam agreed to do it, because he's not going to edit.
No.
So we're going to get whatever we get.
They sponsor the show, man. I'm telling you, we could do something. You never know.
I was heartbroken to find out Mel Tillis wasn't available, so you're the next person that came to mind.
Sweet.
So good.
I will take it. Sean?
You can reach me at adamreadstuff.com. And you can reach me on Twitter at Hero Movie Sean.
I think I did a pretty good job reading the email this week. Screw you guys. All things considered. You
did a better job than me reading the Stallone Connection, that's for sure.
That's okay. It happens to the best of us. Sometimes I just have to take a little bit of spotlight off me. That's all I care about. It's like, oh, nice. They're not noticing all my flaws for once. All right. And, of course, my other podcast, filmfine.com, Preacher Podcast, and all that kind of good stuff. You know where it's at. Patreon.com/HMP, Facebook.com/Hero Movie Podcast. That is it, everybody. Join us next week when we're talking Captain America, the First Avengers. For Sean, Keenan, Bruce Leslie, I'm Adam Portrais. Stay super, everybody.
Bye, Marty and Evie.